like I said after the game, just really proud of the resiliency and resolve of the team, and just kind of their steadfastness in what they wanted to do, what they could do, what they believed they could do, and just an awfully big moment for us as a football team. Awfully big moment for those guys. Obviously, a huge moment for Malik Honeycutt. And just proud of that kid. You know, it's funny. Saturday night, I had some friends in town Saturday, and friends of mine, they had 3 children, 2 of which were boys, and they've just now started playing basketball. So Saturday night, we went over to the basketball game, and I'm standing there, and who do I see? Malik Honeycutt. He's at the basketball game all by himself, just watching basketball. You would think, you know, a kid like that just had a moment like that. He could have been at 1,000 different places, and he's over at the basketball game watching them by himself. So I'm awfully proud of that kid and for that moment. But you know, looking back at the game as a whole, really proud of our defense. Really proud of our defensive performance. Held those guys to under, I think it was like 290 yards total offense, 140 yards rushing against a running back like they have. Man, that's just a tremendous effort by our defense. I think in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken, I think they had like 6 yards in the third quarter or something like that. So obviously just awfully proud of those guys. We talked all week about having a shark mentality, about having a predator mentality, and we kind of nicknamed our defense the Sharks. We wanted them to act like a shark attack and travel in schools and constantly be moving forward. You know, sharks, they have to swim forward. They have to keep moving forward. They can't go backwards. And if they ever stop, then they die, because they've got to have that water moving through their gills and all of that kind of stuff. And we talked a lot about that to our defense, about how, man, you just constantly got to keep pushing. Doesn't matter what comes in front of you. You constantly got to keep moving forward. And I thought they did that. And then offensively, very proud of those guys. You know, we kind of compared them to a honey badger, because a honey badger doesn't really care about what's in front of them. You know, we showed a video. There's a YouTube video of the honey badger, and he's sticking his head up in a hornet's nest or a bumblebee nest trying to get honey, and just there's one of him fighting off like 6 lions, and just worst environment imaginable for the honey badger, and he keeps on kind of fighting his way out of it. And all of a sudden Saturday we had to do the same thing, turn the ball over 5 times in the first half or something like that. And we were playing good ball. We just had to get them to realize we were playing good ball and stop turning the ball over. So awfully proud of those guys. And then, you know, probably the play of the day, after watching it on Sunday, the play of the day came from Colin Boyd, our kicker, because if you watch their last return when we kicked it off, if Colin Boyd does not make that tackle on the sideline, there's nobody left. I mean, there is absolutely, it's frightening to watch it on tape. There's nobody left. So just overall, just a lot of positives, a lot of negatives as well that we've got to get corrected today when we bring the boys back over. And ultimately, we've got to get them refocused and re-energized for this week, and kind of that clear mindset and Zoom-like focus on the task at hand this week at Austin Peay, because obviously that'll be a big one. Got a lot at stake for us, got a lot at stake for them. Battle of the border, all of those things. It's right across the border. It's recruiting. All of those things kind of fall into place with this game. So very imperative that we do a nice job of kind of putting that one behind us, as hard as that'll be, putting that one behind us and moving forward to this week.
It may sound like a silly question. Do you feel like, as a coaching staff, that the turnovers happened so successively and so quickly that you guys had enough time to regroup, recollect yourselves, and find a win?
Yeah, maybe. I hadn't thought about it like that. Maybe. It just, I don't know. Yeah, that may have helped us. You know, that it did happen so fast. It wasn't spread out over the course of the game. But you know, whatever the case may be, I thought that the kids did a tremendous job of being able to, especially Drew, being able to put that behind him. Because somebody asked me after the game, and said, "Did you ever, think about making a change?" And I told him no, unless he got hurt. Unless he was hurt, we weren't going to make a change. Just because, from a mental standpoint, I never saw him check out. I never saw him get, we never thought he was mentally out of it, even with all of that bad stuff going on. And maybe it was just because it happened so quick. Maybe it was a little bit easier for them to think, I don't know, maybe this is kind of fluky, right? Like maybe that was the mentality. So maybe it helped us. I don't know. But I tell you, other than SIU, I've very seldom have I ever seen that, that many turnovers that fast, and 2 of which I think were returned for touchdowns. It was just an awfully crazy experience.
You feel like the SIU game maybe was an experience that this team gleaned on?
Yeah, I think they all are. Every game you can take something away from, and it's no different than the SIU game, watching that and kind of being able to regroup after that. And that probably helped us a little bit. But each and every game, it's always a learning experience. It's always something that you can take away from each game to use for the next game.
Coach, looking ahead to this Saturday, what do you think the biggest threat is Austin Peay poses to your team?
They play very hard. They play very, very hard. They're very, very motivated. They bring a lot of juice. They're playing at home. I haven't had the chance since they've made some of their changes with the pods that they have in the end zone and all of that kind of stuff. But I've heard it's quite an environment down there now. And Healy does a tremendous job. He's got a lot of good personnel. He's done a nice job from a recruiting standpoint with the players that they have and getting them to play awfully hard. So offensively, they kind of they give you a lot of issues because it's almost triple option-y the way that they run their offense. There's always a run option, there's always a quarterback run option, and then there's usually a pass option as well. So it's very much like defending the triple option, which you have to be very, very sound defensively when you do that. And then defensively, they just don't give you a lot of cheap yardage. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to work for it. They do a nice job tackling the football. They're a good ball club. They're a good ball club. They're playing very, very well. And Coach Healy and the rest of that staff does a nice job getting those guys up ready to play.
How did you come out injury-wise?
Don't really know yet. We'll kind of see today when we get them out on the grass running around. I think we're more, like I kept saying this year, I think we're more hurt than we are injured, which is always a good thing. Testament to JC, our strength guy, keeping those guys, keeping their bodies where they needs to be, and because there's a fine line of working them too hard but not working them enough, and he's done a nice job with that. Testament to Fulton, our athletic trainer. He's tremendous as far as rehab goes and giving those guys the things that they need and the tools that they need to get their bodies back right. So, and I tell you, the other thing is and I told the guys that in the staff meeting, hats off to Brandon Corbin, my ops guy who handles a lot of our equipment and all of that kind of stuff in Fulton. They did a nice job with the weather. We've played in those cold games before in years past. SEMO last year we played in the rain and it got really cold. 2 years ago when we went to Tennessee Tech, and I've always tried to be kind of like blue collar, like, hey, we got to find no excuses and all of that. And after last year, I remember going over to the sideline at one point telling the wideouts, hey, man, you got to focus, so you got to catch the football. And I'm watching them, and they're trying to close their hands, and it's just cold, and they're trying to do this. And so I kind of challenged Corbin and Fulton. I said, hey, we've got to find a way. We've got to make sure that there are no excuses for the boys. And they did a nice job, man. They had we had some heaters on the sidelines for the boys, so that when it came over, they could stay warm. And we even put some of the balls, the balls that we were playing with, we had them in front of some warmth, so we weren't throwing bricks around. Fulton changed up his routine on the sideline, had some warmer fluids for them to drink, not hot, not like coffee, but warmer fluids, because I didn't know this. Little professional development for you, FYI. It takes your body more calories. Your body uses more calories when you drink cold fluids because it has to warm it up to be able to digest it. So makes you more tired. So we just heated up some of the fluids a little bit, kind of brothy like. Kids seemed to like it. But it just kind of added to the mentality of, hey, there's going to be no excuses today. It doesn't matter if it's 28 degrees or whatever the case may be. No excuses. You got to find a way to play ball. And my hat's off to those guys for helping the kids be able to do that. And then my hat's off to the fans too. And I mentioned them Saturday, but to all the fans who decided to stay after halftime, because I know it would have been very, very easy to leave, especially in those weather conditions and how the first half had gone. But to all the ones who decided to stay with us and stick it out and had the same belief that we did, man, my hat's off to them, because I'm telling you, when Honeycutt was running that ball back, if you didn't turn around and look in the stands, you'd have thought we had 50,000 people in that stand. I mean, it was so loud down there and rocking, and you know, those players deserve that. Those players deserve that, and our fans deserve that too. Our fans deserve, especially the ones that sat out there in the cold, they deserve to see a finish like that and to be happy and proud and all of those things. So my hat's off to those guys.
How much this week will you guys talk about the possibility of 6-2 and the concept that doesn't happen very often around?
Well, we'll talk about it just enough to make sure that, again, mentally we're in the right place, you know, from a team standpoint. And we'll talk about the fact that we do have so much to play for this week, and it's not just the last week of the season, you know, and those type of things. And there's a lot that goes into that. Not just 6-2. There's other things. There's seniors. You know, this will be your last chance to go. This is your last hoorah, you know, and there's a lot of things on the line. So we're going to use all the bullets in our chamber to make sure that, you know, Saturday that we show up ready to play. And it'll be a tough task. Now, I mean, the weather's supposed to be nasty this week, so practice will look a little different. You know, we talked about some of the hurts. That, you know, this is not the week that you call your coaching buddies and say, hey, come watch us practice and you know, and see how we do it. This ain't the week. You'd be kind of embarrassed, just because it'll look a little bit different, you know, because we got to get those guys to Saturday and we got to get them ready to play on Saturday. But the good thing about it is we don't have to be ready until 4 o'clock on Saturday, and it's my job and this staff's job and our players' job to make sure that we are ready to do that. So anything that we can use to help, we'll use it.
SEMO had 15 penalties for, I think, close to 160, 170 yards. A lot of that coming in a pretty frustrating second half for them. You guys feel like maybe offensively and defensively, you guys just got them out of their element, that they just looked uncomfortable and played more back on their heels? Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, I know, you know, I know. I mean, yeah. I mean, the reality of it is, yeah, probably. I mean, with a comeback like that, and I know if it was flipped around, you know, it'd be very hard on our end, you know, to kind of not burn the ship, so to speak, you know. But I will say this: I thought that, and the thing that I'm going to talk about today, because it was just it was a miracle in Murray, I guess, and that's the reason why they're calling it. But in that situation, you know, the Honeycutt flip, I'll be perfectly honest with you, it'd be hard for me to tell that kid not to do a flip in the end zone. But it has a chance to hurt you, and we're going to talk about that because it moves you back on the kickoff. However, on the flip side of that, I thought the team did a tremendous job, because it's also very hard not to dogpile him, not for the whole sideline to be on the field and go dogpile him after that, because you're so close to being no time remaining in the game. And I thought our coaches, again, some of the dudes who do the sideline control, and our players did a nice job of keeping their composure in that moment, because then all of a sudden you get another unsportsmanlike penalty for leaving the box. You're kicking it off from the 15-yard line, you know, or whatever the case would be. You're kicking it off from way back there, and I'm pretty puckered up at that moment, you know, more than I was after Malik's flip. So we're gonna talk about those things, but you know, I did think that we did a pretty good job in that moment of kind of keeping our composure, and I'll be honest with you, I thought we did that the whole game too, because there was quite a few unsportsmanlike penalties, and I thought we did a really nice job of kind of keeping our cool and not buying into it. There was a moment before the fourth quarter where you know, it almost seemed like there was going to break out and be a dance party on the field, and I shut that down pretty quickly with my football team. We shut that down pretty quickly. We're not going about our business like that.
Did SEMO change their defense in the second half at all? I felt like they were particularly effective still on third down, especially blitzing Drew.
Yeah. No, I mean, not really. They were a little multiple. They had about 3 different fronts that they were going to do, and they kind of bounced in and out of it. Second half is the reason why you started seeing me do a lot more check at the lines, and you know, we were going to try to play fast in the second half. That's what we wanted to do, was play fast, and then I just kind of tried to use some moments there where we needed to be in the right call to kind of check at the line and see what exactly front they were in, what coverage I thought they were going to be in, to try to get us in a better play. Kids did a nice job of that, and we wound up being pretty efficient doing it. But it really didn't change. They were just kind of, you know, they were throwing it all at us, and we just had to be ready for it.